Happy Halloween, everybody. With everything that's been going on in real life and getting over being sick, I was afraid this video was going to be late, but we can finally see the finale of October. Let's see how the Gen 9 Pokemon Kingambit does in a solo run of Generation 1. Rules are in the description. Just like with the Persian run last week, we're going to be watching my final run, which still has some mistakes in it. The original run was recorded way back in May, and I actually messed up the coding for Metal Claw in that run, giving it 50% accuracy instead of 95. I have to say that I'm glad Game Freak gave Bisharp an evolution. It was one of my favorites in Generation 5, and I plan on doing a run with it soon. I've actually got quite the backlog of Generation 5 runs at the moment, but let's take a look at Kingambit's stats. For Gen 1 purposes, it's almost like a better Golem or Rhydon in this case, with a 100 HP, 135 attack, and 120 defense. The 60 special attack and 50 speed are pretty bad, but we are going to get access to some good TMs later on, such as Swords Dance, Dig, and Rock Slide. I tried to replicate the Gen 9 learn set as close as I could, and I added 5 new moves for this playthrough. There are a couple 1-for-1s like String Shot in the place of Scary Face, and Acid Armor in the place of Iron Defense. But one move I had to add was its signature move, Kowtow Cleave, a base 85 power dark move that never misses. And it's going to be pretty overpowered in the early game, but it's not going to remain on our learn set for the entire run. I already mentioned Metal Claw at the beginning of the video, but another new move I added was Metal Sound. You remember how much of an MVP this move was in the Goldango run, and of course, Night Slash and Iron Head. I'll touch on some other things as they come up in the run, but with all that out of the way, let's get into it. Let's jump straight to Viridian Forest. It comes at no surprise that Kingambit is going to do the minimum to Brock, only fighting the bug catcher at the end with the Weedle. Also, ignore me picking up that antidote. I played this run after Persian's final run. I told you there would be some mistakes in this. Anyway, after I defeat the bug catcher's Weedle, Kingambit is going to reach level 6, and you might think this is underleveled for Brock, and it kind of is, but let's take on the rock type specialist and see how Kingambit does. And I'm actually going to take it back to some early attempts when I was testing Brock. I figured level 6 was possible, but would probably require luck since Onix does outspeed you, and something like level 8 or 10 probably makes it much more consistent. I'm able to take out Geodude in 3 hits thanks to a crit, but once Onix comes out, it goes for a turn 1 bide, and if Onix were to have gotten a 3-turn bide, we would have won, but it's a 2-turn bide and it annihilates Kingambit, and this happened to me a lot in the early game, so let's hop to the present run. You'll see me go for Metal Claw hoping for an attack boost, which I don't get, and it and Kowtow Cleave are doing about the same to Geodude. I knock it out over 3 turns, and just like in that past run I showed you, Onix goes for Bide right away. I attack into it because it does outspeed us, and I'm hoping I can live on a sliver from the Bide damage and counter it back, but that doesn't happen, and we take our first reset. I did save in front of Brock just in case something like this happened, and if you're going for real time, you could probably just reset the run since it's not long to get back to this point. But as you saw in this second battle, we don't get a Bide, and Onix is an easy 3-shot, and that's the first badge down. Heading towards Route 3, I'm going to talk about the first run for a second. In my original run, I actually picked up quite a few optional battles, and I was level 16 by the time I arrived in Cerulean, but even then, I didn't take on Misty right away, even though we have a super effective move in Kowtow Cleave to use against her Starmie. In this run though, we're going to be skipping all the optional battles, getting the candy and escape rope still, and when we knock out the Super Nerd's Voltorb, we're level 14. I take the Helix Fossil, and after setting my waypoint to the Cerulean Pokemon Center, I take on the rival. Because of Kowtow Cleave, I don't fear Sand Attack, and it's honestly going to give us the most damage against the rival's ace Charmander anyway. who does have Ember to this point, which would probably do some serious damage to us. But the rival this early on just can't cut it, and this is a pretty simple battle. Kingambit doesn't struggle at all on Nugget Bridge, and part of me debated if Thunder Wave, which is just to the left of that ledge after you complete Nugget Bridge, would be worth it in the early game. While being able to outspeed certain opponents would be nice, things are going to pick up once we get to the mid game. I end up not picking up it or the elixir because I have plenty of PP between Metal Claw and Scratch, although I do pick up the ether after defeating the final Lass. Anyway, after we help out Bill, I head to Cerulean Gym. Kingambit is level 20 to this point, and I don't see Misty being difficult thanks to Kowtow Cleave. Staryu is first. It outspeeds me and is able to do about a third of my health before going down. Starmie's Bubble Beam, without a crit, does over half of my remaining HP, as Kowtow Cleave does over half, but Misty throws the battle, going for an X defend on the next turn, allowing me to earn the Cascade badge. Entering Vermilion, I'm going to touch on something I did in the first run, which was picking up Body Slam. In this follow-up attempt, I'm going to be skipping it, and there are a few reasons why. In my first run, I taught Kingambit both Dig and Body Slam, and while having two different options is nice, and Body Slam's chance for paralysis helps our already slow Pokemon, you just don't need both. Dig has a higher base power, and it's going to give us super effective damage against the gentleman guarding the rare candy which I pick up, the rival's Charmeleon until it's a Charizard, Surge, the self-destructing Hiker, just to name a few that are coming up right now. And Body Slam didn't even make it to my final set in my first run. So let's save some time, save some menuing, and let's hop right into the Rival 3 battle. While Body Slam would have gave me something to hit Pidgeotto a bit harder with, I still have Kowtow Cleave for if it gets off too many sand attacks, and while attempting to go for this move, I accidentally used Dig on this thing, hitting down on my cursor one too many times. But Kowtow Cleave is able to cleave through the rest of his Pokemon, until Charmeleon of course. Instead I decided to go for Dig on this. Why? I don't know. I think my brain just defaulted to super effective move. Use it. And while I miss my first, I do hit the second, which one-shots the Fire Lizard. Let's jump right into Surge. With an outrageous attack stat and Dig on my learn set, you already know what happens here. One hit, one hit, one hit. Easy. Because there isn't much that happens after Surge and in Rock Tunnel, we're going to jump ahead to Celadon City. The first thing I do when I arrive is head to Celadon Mansion to get the free Eevee. This is because I plan on going to Cinnabar before I get the Lapras, and I'm going to need a Surfer, and considering I have to go to the department store for repels, buying a Water Stone isn't too far out of the way. I also have to buy a Soda Pop on the top floor and give it to the little girl to get the TM for Rock Slide. I grab the HM for Fly, and then head through the Rocket Hideout to face Giovanni. And this battle is about as difficult as you'd think, which is not at all. Dig one-shots the rock types, and Kangaskhan always likes to survive an attack, but it only has normal moves which can't do anything to us. After clearing out the hideout, I actually head back to the mart for a quick vitamin buy, and I'm going to invest in calciums. You might be wondering why I'm boosting my special, but trust me, it'll make sense later. Afterwards, I'm going to head to the Celadon Gym, battling the one beauty with an Execute, and now we can take on Erica. Victory Bell is first, and I'm actually speed tied with it. It wins the tie the first turn going for Poison Powder, poisoning me. A bit annoying, especially because Dig doesn't one-shot it, and it then hits me with Wrap. But thankfully once I'm free, Kowtow Cleave cuts it down. I use my last PP of this move on Tangela, which crits nearly one-shotting it as it just hits me with Constrict. I finish it off and move on to her Ace Vileplume. I go for Dig as she locks herself into Petal Dance, and it does over half as this battle is starting to get a bit close from Poison and Petal Dance damage. But one final Metal Claw earns me the Rainbow Badge. Rival and Pokemon Tower time. His most threatening Pokemon at this point is Gyarados, because it has Hydro Pump which deals neutral damage to me, and when Gyarados goes for it, it ends up critting doing half. While I could have taught Rock Slide before this battle and had super effective damage against 3 of his 5 Pokemon, I'm saving it to pair with another move. I'm sure you can guess which one. The Ghastlies here aren't a problem because I still have Dig, although Kowtow Cleave would get the job done as well, but I'd probably have to 2-shot all of them. After Pokemon Tower, I'm going to head to Silphco, but I'm going to do what Gym Leader Matt calls a half Silph. I'm only going to battle the Card Key Grunt, and then take the Warp Pad so that I can pick up TM03 Swords Dance. No waiting until level 64 for this move. After I dig out of Silph, I'm going to head to Cycling Road. In my first run, I did some optional training here against the bikers with fully evolved Pokemon on their team, along with the biker boss at the bottom of Cycling Road. But today, we're skipping all of that, heading straight to the Safari Zone. I will be picking up the few vitamins that I come across in here, along with the full restore, and once I grab the final HMs of the run, I'm going to head to Koga's gym. Kowtow Cleave can cut through the jugglers with ease. Now let's see how our Big Blade Samurai does against the Ninja Master. Koga honestly didn't deserve an intro. I'm faster than all of his Pokemon except for Weezing, and I have Dig. While some time is wasted due to Dig being a 2-turn attack, it's going to one-shot all of his Pokemon with ease, except for Weezing. Instead of death by Dig, it chooses death by self-destruct while I'm underground. Never change, Koga. Never change. Now that I can use Surf outside of battle, I'm going to head to Cinnabar next, and the reasons being, I can get 2 extra rare candies in Pokemon Mansion, along with a few vitamins. And of course, after I defeat Blaine, I'll get a boost to my special. I have a total of 9 rare candies after picking up the 2 in the Mansion, and before I battle Blaine, I'm going to pop 8 to go from 37 to 45. I should say before I battle him again because I forgot to use my candies and lost once, but let's see how this battle should look. Growlithe is first, and I'm going to set up all of my Swords Dances against it. I should note that in my first run, I kept getting burned against it, and if that happens, just reset. It doesn't happen in this playthrough, and with the badge boost to my speed as well, I move first against all of his fire types and one-shot them easily with Dig. Now it's time to head back to Silphco and face Rival 5. I really should have taught Rock Slide to this point, especially because Metal Claw has fallen off. I only get in 2 turns of setup before going on the offensive because of Pidgeot using Sand Attack. I easily knock it out and miss once against Execute, who hits me with Leech Seed, essentially putting me on a timer. Gyarados follows, and had I set up to +6, Metal Claw probably would have gotten the one-shot, but I have to 2-shot it with some misses sprinkled in, as Hydro Pump combined with Leech Seed damage brings me under half. Alakazam is irrelevant because we're a Dark type, and last is Charizard. Metal Claw is going to deal not very effective damage, and if I miss, Ember and Leech Seed will surely finish me. I don't miss, and at +4, it gets the one-shot. That was close. Giovanni follows and I one-shot his entire team, along with Sabrina's, but not Giovanni's team in Viridian Gym. I have to 2-shot the Rhydon with Metal Claw. Rival 6 time, and with Charizard now having Flamethrower, I expect things to be much tougher, which is partly why I've kept Metal Sound on my set to this point. I start by setting up a Swords Dance on Pidgeot because I know I'm going to level up in the middle of the battle, and I want to save 2 to set up on Alakazam. But I don't even make it to Alakazam in this battle, because Gyarados continues to be a menace. Metal Claw at +2 is doing about a third, as Hydro Pump deals massive damage thanks to a crit. I go for Metal Sound to try and soften up the next, which leaves Kingambit on 1 HP, and at this point, I have to hope for a good range with Metal Claw or a Hydro Pump miss, which neither happen, and I take a reset. I try again immediately, this time thinking I can set up on Gyarados since I level up after Execute, but this doesn't work out for me either. Hydro Pump just 3-shots me. Before trying again, we're going to finally teach Rock Slide in the place of Metal Sound, and although I'm going to level up after Execute, I wanted to squeeze in a Swords Dance against it just so I could one-shot it, and it unfortunately hits me with Leech Seed. Not the end of the world, but it could be problematic. At +2, Gyarados easily falls to a Rock Slide. I can set up the remainder of my Swords Dances against Alakazam, who can't do anything to me, and last is Charizard. And right on cue, Disaster strikes as I miss a Rock Slide. It retaliates with Flamethrower, and even with Badge Boost to my special, it still hurts a lot. Thankfully, I don't get unlucky twice in a row as my next Rock Slide hits and easily one-shots his ace. In my first playthrough, I made sure to pick up the Candy and Victory Road and took on 4 optional battles and started the league at 53. This time around though, we're going to be skipping all of that. There's no need for it. And we're going to be starting the league at a lower level as well, 51. Will Kingambit cut through the league, or will it become a wandering outcast? Lorelei is first, and I want to set up fully on Dewgong, but thanks to it using Growl, along with an attack drop from its Aurora Beam, my 3 turns of Swords Dance are only a net +4, but at least all my other stats are boosted. I do squeeze in the last turn of setup against Lorelei's Slowbro, who is also the one Pokemon on her team I can't one-shot, and although I end this battle at under half health thanks to some Rock Slide misses, I'm able to one-shot the rest of her team. Bruno follows, and I was worried about Hitmonlee and Machamp. High jump kick or submission would probably one-shot me. I only set up to +4 and go for Metal Claw on the first Onix, which surprisingly doesn't one-shot. I can finish it the next turn, and Dig is able to one-shot Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and his second Onix. Machamp is last, and my Dig at +4 leaves it at around a quarter, thanks to an unfortunate critical hit, giving it a chance to strike with submission. But Bruno uses an X-Defend. No losses against him today. Agatha is next, and she's frustrating. All of her Pokemon outspeed me, and trying to set up could be a death sentence if I hit myself over and over again in confusion. She can also waste my time putting me to sleep or chipping me down with a move like Nightshade. By the time I make it by her first Gengar, I'm down to half of my HP, and even with a turn of Swords Dance in, I can't outspeed Golbat, who just confuses me again. Thankfully, I fight through it and I'm able to hit a Rock Slide for the one-shot. Haunter follows, and I start to hit myself in confusion again before it puts me to sleep. She then swaps to Arbok, who slowly chips me down with Bite while lowering my defenses with Screech. And when I finally wake up, I hit myself in confusion and knock myself out. I make it back to Haunter in the next battle and have more HP, but miss a Rock Slide, and I get put to sleep with Hypnosis. Kingambit snoozes for 5 turns as she reconfuses me, wastes some turns, but also brings me to red health with Nightshade. Thankfully, I'm able to get through confusion and knock out her annoying ghost. Against Arbok, I'm able to shake off the confusion underground as Dig one-shots, and I've made it to the final Gengar for the first time. It's going to move first, and Nightshade will KO me. She chooses Confuse Ray, and right on cue, Kingambit hits itself for another loss. I make it back to the final Gengar, and again, I lose due to hitting myself in confusion. I make it back again, only to lose to Nightshade. This is getting annoying. Attempt number 5 at Agatha, I'm going to try a different approach. I'm just going to go straight Swords Dance and reset if I get bad confusion luck. I get 2 turns in before knocking out her first Gengar, and this gives me the outspeed for the rest of her Pokemon except for the final Gengar. But it's not even a problem in this battle because she swaps Arbok out for it as I'm underground, and Dig easily one-shots. I level up to 55 after knocking it out and can learn Iron Head, which will replace Metal Claw. I knock out the Arbok, and finally, we're moving on to Lance. I should note that in my first playthrough, I was level 55 and leveled up to 56 in this battle, so I had Iron Head going in for more reliable damage, and I was able to get a first try sweep. Perhaps I should have used a candy before this battle. And let me tell you, Lance is no pushover. His lead is Gyarados that knows Hydro Pump. It's faster, and it does over half to Kingambit. I set up to +4 as I continue to get no-scoped by Hydro Pump, and now I have to make sure I hit every attack. But Lance still has his Aerodactyl, which is faster, and no Supersonic, which it goes for, and right on cue, Kingambit hits itself in confusion, knocking itself out. In the next battle, I don't even make it by Gyarados. I try to see if I can get by without setup, but Rock Slide is a 2-shot, and of course I miss one, and Hydro Pump continues to show off its 100% accuracy, finishing me. I make it back to Aerodactyl in the next battle, but it chooses Takedown this time, and Iron Head one-shots it. But I level up going into Dragonite, who's now faster because I've lost my badge boost. It chooses Slam, bringing me to 10 HP, and I'm hoping Iron Head at +2 is enough to get the one-shot. But it isn't. I get a second chance though as Lance uses a Hyper Potion, and I should have rolled the dice with Rock Slide because I'm pretty sure it would have one-hit Dragonite, but I didn't want the missed chance and rolled the dice with Iron Head again, hoping for a better range, which I don't get. Dragonite goes for Hyper Beam the next turn, and that's a third loss to Lance. Attempt 4, I'm going to set up once on Gyarados before knocking it out, and I'm going to try setting up the rest of my Swords Dance on the second Dragonair. It goes for Agility and then Hyper Beam. I just didn't want to see Dragon Rage, so I'll take this. Even with all my badge boosts, Aerodactyl is still faster and chooses Hyper Beam over Supersonic as Iron Head one-shots, and it's back to Lance's ace. It chooses Slam, which misses, and Iron Head at +6 one-shots it. It's time for the champion. Up first is Pidgeot. It outspeeds and goes for Mirror Move, which fails. I'm going to knock it out over 2 turns with Iron Head because I want the upside of more accuracy, and I'm going to do the same to Alakazam, who can't do anything to me and just goes for Reflect. Iron Head continues to be my move of choice against Rhydon, who does badge boost me some with a Leer, but I'm going to lose that badge boost because I level up after knocking it out, which is perfect because now I can set up against Exeggutor and not worry about Charizard possibly outspeeding me at the end of the battle, which happened in my first run, and once I'm fully set up, Iron Head annihilates it. Rock Slide doesn't miss against Gyarados, and Charizard doesn't get a chance at firing off a Flamethrower or Fire Blast, as Rock Slide hits to end the battle, and right on cue, we level up as we win the run. Kingambit finishes the game at level 58, or 57 for some folks who feel that way since we leveled up on the last Pokemon, with an in-game time of 2 hours and 33 minutes, and a real time of 44 minutes and 2 seconds. A big improvement over the first run, which finished the game at level 66, with an in-game time of 2 hours and 47 minutes. But in terms of real time, the first run was 44 minutes and 53 seconds, and while I didn't save much real time, shaving off 8 levels and nearly 15 minutes of in-game time is a big improvement, and that does it for our Halloween finale. Let's bring up the tier list. It's going to get the second spot in the A tier behind Typhlosion, and perhaps I should do some rebalancing when it comes to the in-game time, because I feel like these top 3 tiers are going to get overcrowded quickly. I think I'll go ahead and do that now. I think that looks a little better. With the rebalancing, Kingambit is going to go from the A tier to the B tier, but it's still in good company with Hisuian Typhlosion, Alolan Sandslash, Decidueye, and Braviary, and I still need to redo the Galarian birds. I would have to imagine that all 3 of them will bump up to either the S or A tier once I get done with them. As always, thank you for the continued support on the channel. We're probably going to close out the year with a lot of Gen 5 content, and probably my first Nuzlocke that I've done in over a year. And just to give you guys a sneak peek into 2026, I'd like to bring a new game to the channel. I thought really hard about the Ultra games because I thought it would be interesting to see the Ultra Beast, and I do like Alola starters. And when I was talking about doing single species or evolution lines, I had a commenter mention that if I'm doing evolution lines, that I was going to need all the luck with Solgaleo and Lunala, since you have to start as a Cosmog, and being in the slow level up group, not having any attacking moves, and not evolving until level 43, and then again at 53 pending what game you're in. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a fun time. So if I ever do those games, it's going to be single species for sure. But I would like to try and get into the Hoenn games with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you like seeing evolution lines or single species. Until next time, when we're back in Generation 5 using Sawsbuck in a solo run. And that was the first run where I immediately wanted to jump back in and run it again to try to do it some justice. You'll see what I mean when the run comes out. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.